Hello and welcome. Welcome to the final episode of the Paris Fan Club channel series for 2023. I hope you've enjoyed the 5 broadcasts we have done this past year, and I have a great lineup for 2024 that you'll be hearing about shortly. So far this year, we've been exploring through various invited guests the magic of Paris and France and all things French. But today, it's all about us. I'm going to be inviting you, and I've got some people lined up here to share their stories and experiences in Paris, and for the rest of you to ask any questions about things you're interested in or you want to know more about, especially if you're planning a trip this coming year. Let me bring in Mark, who along with the team in Vancouver will be producing today's program. He's just running to his chair and monitoring the chat for questions and bringing you into the conversation if you choose to do so. Hello, Mark. Do you have any advice for people today?
Just enjoy the day. We're just moving along. And if you have anything you want to share, please put it in the chat. And if you want to make a comment, just raise your digital hand.
Yeah, if you want to come into the program, raise your hand so we know where you are. Okay. All right. So let's have a look at our sponsor. And I'm very lucky to have a sponsor for this program, as I did for the last one, somebody who really knows Paris. Mark, you can bring up our sponsor's slide for us. All right. So do you dream of living in Paris? You might be thinking that way after this broadcast. You can make it happen with buyer's agent Christine Bakuptaitis. She is here with us. She's in Paris, and she's just waving at us now. Many of you can see that, I hope. Okay, wave back, right. So Christine is a French-American lawyer, and she helps people who want to find an apartment or property to buy in Paris, and she manages the whole process. That's the whole point of a buyer's agent, from finding the right property to navigating the necessary legal steps, of which there are a lot to do, and to finding and arranging whatever else you need, the works, contractors, interior designers, whatever. It's like really having a personal advocate who is only working in your best interests. I know Christine. I love Christine. I think she's a wonderful person to work with, and she really does take all the complexity and stress out of the transaction. So we will be hearing a little bit about that later on. So, okay, because I want to get to so many people today, let's jump right in. And I'm going to ask Cynthia Iris to come on board with me as a co-host here. She was in Paris for 10 days in November, and she joins us from Washington, D.C. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Diana. Hello, everybody. Bonjour à tous.
Well, how was your trip? Tell us about your trip.
So I've been to Paris several times since the 1990s. This was not my first time, but I had not been there since 2005. So with COVID and what have you, this was kind of my first chance to really get back, which was great. I wanted to live in the neighborhood, not necessarily be a busy tourist every day.
Yeah.
So I picked the 7th. I found a hotel I really liked that was really convenient and comfortable.
We're going to put it up here. Actually, stop there because we've got a slide of your hotel. This is not just any ordinary hotel. Beautiful. It's called the Hotel Le Walt, right? Walt.
It's Le Walt, the man's name, Walt.
Yep.
It's on Rue Montpiquet, very near Rue Cleur. So it was in the right location as I researched where did I really want to spend my time for 10 days. And I did go to Rodin, which is nearby, the Rodin Museum. I did go to the Louvre to go to the Dutch galleries, which is my favorite, and Saint-Sulpice. I did some things I've done as a tourist at times, but it was great. And there was a place I particularly visited, the American Library in Paris, which is in the 7th. It was close by. They have a talk I would recommend if anybody's interested about their history, which is very interesting from 1920 forward. So if you're interested in Paris, you're interested in Americans in Paris, it's a very interesting talk for about an hour and a half.
That's great. No, that's a place I haven't been either, so I'd like to do that.
It's unusual.
What do you love about Paris? What keeps drawing you back?
I'm going to say the usual things that most people probably say. Certainly the art museums. For me, I'm an art and architecture fan, big fan. So in any major city when I've traveled, that's kind of the places. Those are the places I'll go. So the Louvre, d'Orsay, Rodin, places like that. Saint-Sulpice, because Notre Dame is still closed. So for an organ concert, which my husband loves, and for the atmosphere, for the details, the architecture, the food, who does not go to Paris for the food? Food is unbelievably great. You cannot, I've said many years, you cannot get a bad meal in Paris. You'd have to work at it.
Yeah.
And I would also say to use my French. I learned from French nuns as a child.
Wow.
And I learned again, high school, I studied it, and then I learned again during COVID. So it's great to be able to immerse yourself and practice it all day. So those are the main reasons.
Do you find people treat you differently because you are able to speak French?
Yes, and I was told this before I went there the first time, and every time it's always bonjour monsieur, bonjour madame,
goes a long way, doesn't it?
And je regarde. When you're in a store, it's really great when someone comes to help, which they do, to say you're just looking. Je regarde. To use a little bit of French goes a long way.
Yeah, yes. I find that too. I want to show the next slide, which actually was, you actually stayed in that hotel, the Walt, but then you stayed your last night in this hotel. Look at this one, which is like one of those dream hotels that everybody wants to stay in, but most people never do.
And I would not have, lobby, except it was my last night. It was a splurge, and it was unbelievably luxurious. And I will say I had the best lemon meringue tart. They set the room up really nicely, and there was, of course, food and wine when I first got there, a really beautiful tray I did not ask for, but it was unbelievably great. The best lemon meringue tart I have ever eaten.
Really?
And it was flecked with gold. It was absolutely delicious. So yes, it was great.
I think it's a good idea to do a splurge of some kind so that you really remember the trip, huh? Like Shardy and I did that, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, it does. It makes it more memorable. We do have the next slide. You sent me some shots of the things that you visited, so there might be something specific in there that you
I did. Yeah. So in this particular one, I did actually get the Paris Greeter tour. You had suggested I did do that.
Yeah, I've got to talk about that too.
So there's a church on the left, which is an old Benedictine abbey, which we had a lovely tour of, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. That's Francois the First. That's in the Louvre. That the next picture, the King, which is unbelievably beautiful. And then my favorite, Rodin has the famous The Thinker, The Kiss.
It's amazing.
But The Burghers of Calais is a very interesting story. Really moving and interesting.
This is the sculpture that you got there, right?
Okay. Yeah, The Burghers of Calais, which is in his house, his home.
Yes.
And then Rue Clos. So the fruit, the patisserie, the fromagerie, the cheese shops, the tea shop, Mariage Frère, the restaurants.
Yes.
It's an old friend. I've been to Rue Clos a few times. So it was nice to just go back, and I spent a fair amount of time eating and shopping there.
Yeah, people that don't know Rue Clos, it's not too far from the Eiffel Tower. It was near your hotel, right? But it's kind of the foodie corridor with everything. And oh my God, you could spend days there. Right? Yes. It's really wonderful. Yes. It is. And the Rodin Museum, I've been to the Rodin Museum maybe 4 times, but I've never been in the house because they were renovating. Some of you may have been in Paris the last, like maybe 5 years ago. It was being renovated for quite a long time. So I'm glad to hear that, you can get in there now. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to move on now to the next person. Thank you so much, Cynthia. That was great. Let's bring in Laura Warnock, who also has been to Paris very recently. And Laura, you wave at everybody so we know which one you are. There you go. Good. And how was your trip? Tell us a little bit. How long were you there? And wait, I should say you're coming from Virginia, right? Alexandria, Virginia. Oh, we still can't hear you, so you might be muted. You just have to click right at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. There's a little microphone. You just click on. There you go.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am in Virginia, just across the river from DC. I was in Paris for 3 weeks, and I spent 2 weeks in the 2nd, and then 1 week in the 15th. Very near, right off Le Mont-Piquet. So not very far from the Eiffel Tower. And there were all the times I go to Paris, I have this list and where I'm going to eat, what I'm going to do. And I just threw it all out the window this time. And there were a few things that I decided, but mostly I got up every day and I just went.
Yeah.
And even if I was feeling in a slump or I was tired, if you just get up and go and get out in the street, you're just transported.
Absolutely.
So everything else goes away. One of the delightful things that I saw was the Hotel de la Marine, which, if people have not been to, it is a magical experience as you enter, and a lovely permanent
the Marine Museum. Yes.
And then when you go into the museum itself, it's really a delight. It was exceeded my expectations. I had no idea what I was going to see other than a little bit of history behind it. The rooms are beautifully done. It's like going into a mini Versailles. It's just remarkable.
That's one to add to my list. I haven't been there. No.
It's really where I was just blown away when I walked in the door.
Oh wow.
And that was the first step. And then you enter the Hotel de la Marine itself, and you begin to see all the different rooms that are furnished. And it's worth all the time that you spend in there. Right. And if you think to do it, there's a restaurant right there, but you have to make a reservation to get in because it's quite small. It's called La Pérouse. And it's beautiful inside. It's just lovely. Okay. So there's that. And
well, I want to talk about where you stayed, because I'm going to bring in another person that you know very well as I do, Martine, who is in Paris. Right, Martine, raise your hand so everybody knows where you are. There we go. We're going to bring you in a second here when Mark can do that.
When I was looking for an apartment, I saw her logo on your newsletter.
I've written about Martine quite a bit, yes.
And so I contacted her and we arranged for me to stay. Okay. I was not familiar with the second, but the position of her apartment is such that you could get to so many different places very, very quickly, very easily, because the streets are not out on a grid. So you're just, a lot of things are very convenient.
Yeah, it's in the second. And let me bring in a photograph, because I want to explain something here that Martine is going to want us to do. So Mark and Jordan, if you can bring out. Okay, so these are actually two different apartments. Martine has a business called Key to Paris, and heard me talk about or write about that, and she has a lovely little B&B in the second, and she also lives in the second. Now, for me as well, because I stayed with Martine this time too, this year. The problem was Martine said there was so much construction around her regular B&B, which is on the right-hand side in this picture. And so she would not hear of us staying there, right, Laura? So we both got to stay at her house or her home, while poor Martine had to stay in the apartment with all the noise. So that's why I wanted Martine to be on this call, just to thank her for doing that, I'm sure. But I'd like to talk to Martine and you, Laura, about, Martine has this B&B. It's always booked up well in advance, but she's also incredible when it comes to helping you find things to do in Paris, because she really knows all the nooks and crannies. Did you find that?
Yes, absolutely. Because not only did she have notebooks with all kinds of information in
it.
She sat with me and talked about the city and asked me what kinds of things I was interested in and what I would like to do. And then she made suggestions. And it was really very helpful. I mean, I've been to Paris a few times, but you can't know it all.
No,
so,
for sure.
I always like talking with somebody who has the knowledge of the city like she does, and the love of different parts of it the way I do.
Yeah.
And
bring her in too now to make.
they,
Let's ask Martine about that, because she loves to do this. She, is the kind of person who will research anything. And if we can bring Martine in, Martine, put your hand up again. There we go. Okay, there we are. So Martine, even more than promoting your B&B, it's the activities that you like. We don't have a lot of time to get into them, but just give us a couple of highlights. What do people want to see most when they come to stay?
Okay, first of all, hello to everybody. You can hear I'm French. I cannot hide my accent. I am one of the few authentic Parisian. I was born there, but I lived abroad. And it's true that when I travel, I like to not only be a tourist, but have some, life that people would live, insiders. And that's what I am offering to my guests if they want it. And people, and because I'm not very sportive, so I know about places to run or to jog, but I would not recommend that.
I don't come to Paris to run and jog, believe me.
Some
to
do.
Eat, yes.
And I have a guest that she's an artist, but her husband spends his life at the gym nearby. Okay. Wow. And so my niche is art, architecture, and food. So people, they come to me because first of all, the apartment is well equipped, like a big kitchen, so they can cook if they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I have passes for museums. Sometime I can share them, or I can tell them what are the exhibitions. And I like also not to talk only about Orsay and the Louvre, but you have a lot of smaller museums of beaten paths.
Exactly, yeah.
And I like to stroll my neighborhood with them. And if they are foodies, we can go to the market, we can shop, we can eat together. And I like also to blend, for example, an exhibition with a menu, which means, I don't know which one I've done. I had guests. That's a little bit complicated, but they wanted to attend the Opéra Comique. And the Opéra Comique history at once was related to Alsace. So I made for them a welcoming board with all Alsatian goodies. That's the kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things I really appreciate. I'm going to have to keep moving on, Martine, because we have lots to talk to. Cynthia, I have one more, I'm sorry, Laura, one more picture to show of just a couple of the restaurants that you actually liked to frequent here. So you just tell us very briefly about, I was most interested in the one in the top right-hand corner, which I had never heard about. It was the Mosque, right? The Mosque restaurant, was that it?
Oh, that wasn't a mosque. That's not a restaurant.
La Mosquée, or whatever it's called.
The Mosquée is the mosque in the Fifth, and there's a hammam. So you go, there is no restaurant, but you go for the massage and you go for that whole experience. But they also have this lovely little cafe there, and they have a courtyard so you can sit outside if the weather's
nice.
After they've just flogged you to death in the massage room, you can go out there.
I'm liking it so far.
They really did an amazing job. They were all wonderful, and we had a lovely lunch, and it's absolutely worth spending the hours you do.
Oh, it sounds wonderful.
Like a break from the city, but something you're not going to find doing wherever you live, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Super.
May I interrupt 1 sec?
Of course.
It's Hôtel de la Marine, is Place de la Concorde, and it used to be the ministry for the Marine Army. Okay, and it's like Laura said, a little Versailles, but you have Musée de la Marine, which is on Place du Trocadéro, and that reopened.
Okay, that's what I thought she was originally talking about. Yeah,
but they are very different. Okay,
right. Thank you.
Not to be confused.
Thank you.
That was
why we need you.
That was closed when I was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they reopened 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Super. Thank you both, ladies. That was terrific.
Diana, make sure you get back to the Rodin, get in the house. It's one of the most.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I've been writing a couple of notes here as we go along. So thank you for that. As you know, that ever since I started this project of talking about Paris and writing about Paris, I've been there every year at least once, and a couple of those times I went with my very best friend who is online here with us too, Shardy Stevenson. So we're going to bring her in for a minute. We have known each other since we were 17 years old, and we've been joined at the hip ever since. And we've had two at least, Shardy, two trips to Paris. I'm before you even say anything though, I'm going to bring up three. They had three. Okay, well, we'll do it again.
One was a very, very long time ago.
Oh, very long time ago. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My God. Okay. Anyway, I want to put up the next slide because I know Shardy remembers this as well as I do. This little event that we had, because of course everybody wants to go and see the Eiffel Tower when it lights up for the first time in the evening. And we were on this trip in 2018. It was summer. So it didn't light up until about 9 o'clock. So we had to go and sit on the Champ de Mars where everybody goes and waits for the lights to come on. And it really is spectacular. But then everybody gets up and tries to do a selfie. And we're not real keen on taking selfies at our age. So we started the first one, as you can see on the left. We thought that was really awful. But considering what happened afterwards, it got worse and worse. So that was the best one. Yeah. Do you remember that, Shard? We could not stop laughing.
Well, I totally remember that. I mean, everybody was, having their wine and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was
food and everything.
Packed.
Yeah,
it was packed, and we were determined because all these, I guess they would be millennials and younger. We're doing the selfies, so we're like, okay, we have to do a selfie because we
only have like a couple of minutes. You have 5 minutes to do it. That's it. Yeah.
That's right. So, so we were laughing so hard. The people around us were wondering, what were we crazy? Like they were.
We thought we were crazy.
Honestly, we decided after 4 or 5 minutes of this that the problem is that women over the age of a certain age should not take selfies because it doesn't matter what you do, you always look bad. So, I mean, it was, we did get the Eiffel Tower in the background, and we saw it,
which was amazing. It's definitely everybody, I'm sure all of you have done that. It's just incredible, but it would have been better with some wine. I agree.
Yes. Yeah. We
wouldn't have cared about this
properly. Yeah, no.
And then we had a couple of other experiences, one of which one of you mentioned. So let's just go to the next slide. And Shardy, you will remember this. We got it up there. There we go.
Yes, I was just looking at those.
Cynthia did this.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the Paris greeter, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was just
Rita.
Yeah, she was lovely. And then we went on the tour that she had arranged for us afterwards. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that where the great Café du Magot with the back? Didn't you go in? That was the first place we went, was it not?
Yes, that's right.
We had photos of you with the
waiter and everything.
Yeah.
That was great fun.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And
but that is an incredible service because I just went free. And I think Laura wants to say something about that in a second, but it's free. But I just put in that I'd like a woman of a certain age, so I was doing this blog, who would show me the area that she really likes in Paris. So she took us to the what is it called? Saint-Germain-des-Prés.
Yeah, Saint-Germain. Yes.
To the Abbey there, to
the
restaurant. We went to a library there. There was a school library. It was incredible. And anyway, it's really worth doing for sure. Cynthia wanted to add something. I hope you guys can bring her in. Cynthia, just put your hand up again so that, yeah. Or no, I'm sorry, it was Laura, right? I'm getting you two confused because you're right next to me.
Right. We cannot see the slides you're putting up.
Oh, okay. You may be on speaker view. You have to be on the show view to see that, I think.
Well,
So-
it's not up right now on mine.
Oh, it's not up right now anyway.
There it
There's
is.
the
What you
greater.
can do
you
is
see it
pin
now,
the
Laura?
Paris fan club.
Yeah.
There's a box there that says Paris fan club.
Yeah,
If
you have to
pin
be on that box to see it.
Where is that?
It's for me.
We can't
it's
help
in,
you with that, unfortunately.
It's in my top left-hand corner, Laura. I don't know about you.
Yeah, my top left-hand corner too, if you're on gallery view. Keep trying though, because we'll move on. And let's go to
Okay.
the next slide as well, which is another thing. This
Oh
was
my.
great fun too. Remember, Shardy?
Oh yeah.
This was called, it was originally called Eat With, or now it's called Mama's Food Experiences, which I think is not a great name for it.
No.
But you can go online and figure out where you can eat, like with a real chef that's somebody and in their home, or you can eat with just regular local French people. I mean, Martine, you should do this. And you can go and have a meal with them and charge, quite, I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't expensive, cheaper than going out for dinner. And we met these wonderful people, Francois and Marie-Christine, who have continued to be great friends of mine. And it was just a lovely evening at their home. And we exchanged so many stories. And it was, I mean, honestly, that was one of the highlights of our trip, Shard? And that was like the last.
It was a very, very different experience. I think we took an Uber and it wasn't close.
No, no, it was in the 7th. No, we were in the 17th, and it was in the 20th or something. Yeah, right.
But the thing that was interesting is being in someone's home and seeing how just regular people like us would live, and what they they made a very nice dinner for us, but it wasn't like going to Le Georges V or something. It was
which I have a picture of that in a minute too.
Yeah, just a lovely family dinner, and they were just so welcoming and just terrific hosts. And we talked about all sorts of things. They were great. Yeah, they were really,
really. I highly, highly recommend that as something to do if you have a little bit more time when you're in Paris. And let's put up the next slide, which was one of those experiences that we were talking about. And this was all about Shardy, because Shardy worked in insurance for most of her career. And the Four Seasons was her client. Can you imagine? Which meant she went all over the world to the Four Seasons hotels. And so when we went to Paris, she said, absolutely, we have to go to the Georges V for tea, which is all we could afford anyways, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Shardy. Remember the courtyard there?
Oh yeah, well I went to the Georges V when they were first opening it. They, like 3 weeks from the point that I was there with the risk manager, they were opening the place, and I was like blown away by how gorgeous. So I said to Diana, we must go. So we went into the courtyard, and the most amazing thing about the Georges V, any of the Four Seasons, but particularly the Georges V, are the flowers. Like they spend hundreds of thousands of euros every year on their flowers, just in their lobby. It's remarkable. Yeah. So we were in the courtyard, and Diana, you're right. Diana had tea, but I did not. I had my first ever Aperol spritz, and it was just such a beautiful experience. And all the people around us were the beautiful people. Like seriously.
Yeah, they really were. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, the handbags were $3,000.
Oh my gosh!
And they were this big,
And I think the cup of tea was the equivalent of about $25.
Yeah, and Shardy paid, which was very nice.
And the spritz was like $45 or something, but it didn't matter. It was just how wonderful an experience it was. Yeah. Just yet another wonderful Parisian experience. Right?
Yeah, and something we'll remember forever. Absolutely. So thank you, Shardy. As always, love you. Okay.
Love you too,
I'm going to bring in now another dear, dear, dear friend of mine who is, Shardy's in Burlington, Ontario, by the way, and Peg, there she is. We'll see you there. There she is. She is not too far from me in Collingwood, Ontario. We live in a ski resort area where there now is getting to be lots of snow, and Peg is an avid skier, so that's why she lives here. But Peg, in 2019, Peg, right? Yes. We went to Paris. I was there and had gotten an apartment, and she joined me for 2 weeks while I was there. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you remember? And I think we have a picture of the apartment too we can put up while you talk about it, because that was really kind of special.
Well, yes, and it was such a wonderful experience, and especially having Diana, not only, to be there with a good friend, but to have her, first of all, as my tour guide and also as my translator. I mean, I, speak a little French, but not nearly enough to be able to get by, as someone like Diana is able to. But yes, here's a few pictures from our apartment, and the one on the left-hand side, where you see the roofs. This was actually what we could see from the window. And it was just an iconic view of the rooftops of Paris. It was just fabulous. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the distance there, that is the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
And as I guess it does every night, it lights up at a certain hour, and it was just something to behold. So it was just a fabulous view. And the other pictures, you can see it was very spacious. And it was interesting because I think these buildings were probably originally private residences, and then they were turned into apartments. We were up on the top floor, so that's probably the servants' quarters, and the elevator did not go to the top. So we had to drag our suitcases up that last flight of stairs. But once we got there, as you can see, it was just a great
windows all around. Remember, from every room. It had to be about 1,200 square feet. And then,
easily.
But then there was a chambre de bonne right next to us that, I don't know if you ever saw that, Peg, but the young lady that lived in it was a student, and this happens quite a lot, as Christine would tell us, is that students come to Paris to go to school and stay in these little tiny, and I'm not kidding, it's the size of your bathroom if you have a reasonably sized bathroom, maybe smaller, in which case there's a shower, a little, heating thing to do some cooking, a bed, and that's it, and a window. And that was right next door to us. So we had this spacious apartment, and I felt really badly for the young woman, but she didn't seem to mind too much. Anyway,
Paris.
That's right. It was spectacular.
There, yeah. Well, and the
reason I wanted to bring you on, hon, is that I wanted you to talk about something that actually I have not done in Paris, but you have, and that is you took a cooking class. Right?
Yes.
We have a slide of it too. I'll put that up.
This is something I really wanted to do. I'm quite the foodie. I really enjoy cooking and eating and sharing, great food with other people. And so I went online. I went to one of the tour companies that offers, and that's me in the middle. And I'll talk about the sauce that I made in a minute. But on that right-hand side, there were two other women in the class with me, two women from the US. And Marta was our chef. She's in the red sweater there. And so we cooked a full meal. It was at lunchtime, but we cooked a full meal. And the main course is what you see on the left side. And that was cod with and I won't say this right. In fact, I had to look it up. It's a nolly Pratt sauce, which apparently is a kind of vermouth. So it was shallot. Yeah. And the vermouth and cream and and Dijon mustard, and you had to stir it and you had to mix everything together. And the other interesting thing was the carrots, and I'd never seen carrots prepared this way, where they were big chunks. You boil them, but then you take the water out and put in chicken broth and butter, and that's what creates the glaze. And they were just delicious. Oh, boy. The highlight, though, I have to say, and there's not a picture of it here, was the chocolate cake we made for dessert, because it had very little flour, very little sugar. It was made I guess it's called a fondant, and it was made mainly with eggs. So egg yolks and chocolate mixed together, and then egg whites whipped up and folded in. And I actually made it the following year for Diana for her birthday.
It was so delicious. Yeah.
Easy to make. And so it was great fun for me to go to this cooking class and see what French cooking was all about.
I'm trying to remember, were there any leftovers?
Oh, well, that was an interesting story.
You said something about that.
So what happened, there were the three of us in the class, along with Marta, who was teaching us how to do all these dishes. And so when it was time to eat, the three of us sat down. Marta did not sit down with us. There were lots of leftovers. So we figured that we had just made lunch for her and her husband, who was coming home after we left.
Or dinner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean, that's
It
very
does make sense.
economical, right? Practical.
It does make
Oh,
sense.
that's wonderful. Well, it was a wonderful trip. I had just had
It
so
was.
much fun with
Yes,
you
thank
too.
you. Yes.
So thank you. So now I'm going to ask, I know there were a couple of other people that actually wanted to join in. I think is Susan Nobleman there. Put your video on if you can, because I think I saw in the chat that you would like to connect. I can see that you're there. I just can't see your she's having trouble connecting to her audio, so maybe we'll move on. Edith Firsty is online though. Edith, can you put your video on for us, maybe, if you're there? She contacted me. There she is. You are also muted, so I think you need to unmute which is lower left-hand corner, if you can. You got it? And we're going to bring you, okay. And Mark, we're going to bring Edith into the picture. There we go. Now, Edith, that you've been such a loyal fan of mine for so long, but I have never met you in person. So I am so thrilled to see you. Can you speak for us and just see whether we can hear you yet?
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
And where are you? Difficult. You're in Italy, but where are you?
Yes, I am in the north. I am in the Alps.
Oh.
In the north of Italy, it's close to Verona. It's between Verona and Innsbruck. And so my mother tongue is German, but we also speak Italian, of course. And we have Italian passports, but we have two languages here. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
And I know literally you came back from Paris like 3 days ago, right?
Yes, that's true. I came back on Sunday and I saw some very, very nice exhibitions in Paris. And the first one I recommend is in the Marmottan Musée, which is the exhibition about Berthe Morisot and the 18th century, about Fragonard, Boucher, and I liked it very, very much. It's such a beauty there. So if you have the chance to go, you should go. You should visit that exhibition. Yeah.
It sounds like being so close to Paris too. Do you find yourself going there quite often, or
yes. No, at least 2 to 3 times a year. And my next visit will be in January already, and then again in March. Yeah, I quite often go to Paris because I like art. I love art. And also all these things, the fashion, and the Galliera, Musée Galliera, I visit it every time. And yeah, so I'm very happy to visit Paris so often. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being such a loyal supporter of the Paris fan club too. It's so wonderful to actually see you now.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to try again. Thank you. We're going to try again for Susan Nobleman, because she keeps checking with us in the chat.
There we go.
Can we see her? And if not, I'm going to have to just say, not going to work. No, I don't think it's going to work.
She's up. She's up, Diane. She's up and unmuted.
She's muted?
She's unmuted.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I can see you now. Super. Susan, you wanted to say something, right? And thank you. I have never seen you in person either. Yeah. Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'm so delighted to join this one. I like so many of them, but my tale of Paris is many, many visits, and one that was a little less than success.
Oh, okay.
I traveled from Gare du Nord to Gare de l'Est. And for those who know the métro, that's only one stop. I had looked at taking a taxi, but the queue was really long. I wish I had. As I exited the métro, I looked down at my handbag and to my horror, realized it was open.
Oh boy.
Bye-bye brand new iPhone. And later on, I discovered also the pickpocket person had helped themselves to my MasterCard. So being the let's deal with it, let's move on, every single stop in France, I had to get on the computer with the unusual lettering on the French keyboard.
Yes.
And try and print each rail ticket and each confirmation for the hotel. So that one doesn't stand out so
No, that's
well.
rough.
But I was later advised, carry your handbag beneath your coat or your jacket or whatever. So I just wanted to share that tidbit to hopefully help others not experience the same thing that I did.
Well, unfortunately, I have had that experience, but not in Paris. I had it in Barcelona. And, it happens to people. I'm sure. Is there anybody else you can put up your hand if it's happened? But I literally got on the metro. Oh, yeah. Okay. Kim's putting her hand up. I was on the metro. I had my purse, closed up and zipped up and everything. And there was this woman. I would say she probably was Romanian because she was speaking another language to somebody, but she had hair all over her face. She got in the metro or in the subway with me, and I saw her and thought, I'm in trouble. So there was so crowded, I kept moving around to try to get away from her. And then I had a friend with me. I said, we're getting off at the next stop just to get away from her. Anyway, this woman moved towards the door. So I thought she was getting off and I thought, okay, well, now we don't have to get off. And so we stopped. And as she was getting out, and it was so brilliant, she said, what time is it in English? And guess what I did? I went like this with my watch. And in a second, she took everything out of my purse. And I had 500 euros in a plastic bag, my credit cards, my driver's license, my health card, everything. And that was the beginning of our trip. So I learned my lesson too. Yes, wear it under your coat, right? And wear a purse or something that you are holding right next to you whenever you go. But, you get tired and you get lazy and you're having fun and all that stuff. So it can happen. But Susan, tell us something nice that you've done in Paris so we don't end on that.
One of the other speakers mentioned the marmottin. I really enjoy that. The other thing I enjoy doing is getting on a metro and sort of pinning a stop name to my consciousness. And when I reach that stop, I pop out and wander around the neighborhood. And it's really, it's a fun discovery. Visiting a city isn't all about culture. It's about mixing with people.
Great.
One time I was sitting at a cafe. This was long ago when people still wrote postcards, doing so. And I got to chatting to this nice elderly gentleman sitting next to me. And he said, oh, I wish I could get a postcard. Whereupon I wrote him one.
Oh, what a great idea. That's super. Yeah. So do you go back often now? Like, have you got a trip planned?
Not just yet. I was in Belgium and London recently.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, that same trip with that mishap, I booked a not very nice hotel. It was just old. I escaped being caught in the elevator that malfunctioned by like minutes. I was on the 5th floor and I was pressing the button. It didn't come. Luckily, it didn't because it got stuck between floors and I would have missed my next deadline.
Okay, I know. I'm not liking that at all. Wow. How long did it stay like that?
Luckily for me, there were 2 young women that were also descending to the lobby, and they very kindly grabbed my overstuffed, suitcase, and we walked down the spiral staircase, and I made it. And I asked the front desk person, is the elevator not working? Oh, no, I'm going to put a notice. When?
A little late for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you've had too many bad experiences. We have to send you back so you have a really good.
Oh, I was encouraged in Belgium that my French really does work fairly well.
Good for you. That's great.
That was fun too. I would recommend a side trip from Paris to Brussels, Ghent. Ghent was my
You went
favorite.
to Ghent. Well, we did when my sweetie who's online here, Patrick, you can see his name. We went to Belgium after our trip to France in the summer because he's from there. And so we went out to the coast up to Dahan, where he's from, and also to Bruges. If anybody's been to Bruges, oh my God, that's such a beautiful city, right? People are nodding their heads. All right, so I'm going to start wrapping this up, but I wanted to just go to Christine, too, our buyer's agent and sponsor. Christine, of course, you live in Paris. We don't have a lot of time, but I thought maybe you'd just like to share with us something that you do frequently in Paris that you would say is just like makes your life so perfect.
Yes, well, I really enjoy walking around Paris and take pictures, to catch the moment. So I take pictures of every place that I go to. I don't take selfies. I just take pictures of what's around.
Good, yeah.
And then there's another thing that I like to do, but I can only do it once a year. It's on Bastille Day. I like to watch the fireworks from the Bateau Mouche.
July 14th, correct?
July 14th.
Yes.
So watch the fireworks on the Eiffel Tower from the boat, from the Seine, from a Bateau Mouche.
And how do you make sure that you get on this? There must be lots of people who think about doing that. How do you make sure you get a ticket?
You have to make a reservation,
right?
Basically, like you reserve a dinner on a boat, on the Bateau Mouche, and then the Bateau Mouche will stop right in front of the Eiffel Tower before the fireworks start.
I've done it, but that would be incredible. That would be incredible. Okay, that's on my list again to do. Yeah, another thing that Christine and I have both done is we hired a photographer while we were in Paris, the same one, right? Just to have really, more professional pictures to do. I wrote a blog about that you probably all remember, but that was really worthwhile too. I thought so. And the pictures that you got, Christine, were lovely. Lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the photographer is really nice.
Yeah, really nice guy too. Okay, well, I hate to even wrap this up now, but I think I have to do that. So, oh boy, thank you so much, everyone. I'm sure we could have gone on for another hour. I've really enjoyed hearing your stories. And this is the kind of thing that the Paris Fan Club is all about. So we'll do this again. So Christine is there. Let me really thank you for being here and being our sponsor. And, you can connect. We'll put up a final slide, which I really love here. And the print is too small for me to read, but I love the caption here: make your French real estate journey as smooth as a buttery croissant. Okay, that sounds wonderful. Want to do that. And everybody, you can contact Christine by email if you'd like to, even chat with her about it. You don't necessarily have to have big plans to do this right now, but she's certainly open to that. And her email is there at cbt@tometparis.com, or you can just go to her website by the same name, tometparis.com. Tomet, I explained in the last program, she picked that because it's a tomet is an antique tile that's been used in French homes for the ages. So a nice metaphor for what she's doing. So you can also contact me if you don't get this information written down quickly enough. And thank you, Christine. We'll be hearing more from her. She and I are going to do a program together in January, which is open to everybody, and it's called How to Buy an Apartment in Paris. So we're going to go through all of that, and we'll have some apartments to show you and that kind of stuff. Thank you, Mark, and the team in Vancouver. And of course, once again, thank you to all my Paris Fan Club members. Stay well, stay safe, plan your next trip to France, hopefully in 2024. I will be in touch with our next workshop, and I really hope you will all continue to stay with me as part of the Paris Fan Club in 2024. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you. So happy holidays, au revoir, et à la prochaine. Bye for now, everybody.
Joyeux Noël.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.